Imagine for a second that you are flying a beautiful cream and blue 1956 Cessna 182 over the sweeping plains of Colorado.
Oh, wow, yeah. Just crystal clear skies, engine humming smoothly.
Exactly. And looking out the window, it feels completely, perfectly peaceful. Except, as you look down at the ground passing beneath you, you are actively scanning the landscape for threats.
Right, because in this reality, 99% of humanity has been wiped out.
Yeah, wiped out by a flu and then subsequent blood disease. And the few people who are left down there, they almost certainly want to kill you.
It is such a stunning, just deeply unsettling juxtaposition. I mean, you have the absolute godlike freedom of flight paired with the ultimate suffocating paranoia of a ruined world.
And that is the exact landscape we are exploring in today's deep dive into Peter Heller's post-apocalyptic novel, The Dog Stars.
It's quite the ride.
It really is. And our mission today isn't just to recap a gritty survival story, right? We're diving into this profound question hidden in the text. When the world actually ends, what happens to the balance between physical survival and, keeping your humanity alive?
Yeah, it's the ultimate tension of the genre. We are talking about the basic mechanics of breathing versus the philosophy of actually living.
So to really explore that, we need to look closely at our narrator, a guy named Hig. And Hig is fascinating because he really doesn't fit your typical survivalist mold.
Not at all.
Right. I mean, he's a poet. He loves to fly that Cessna. He was an avid fisherman. And he is so deeply traumatized by the fall of civilization that he actually sleeps outside on the ground with his dog, Jasper.
Which is wild because he does that even in the freezing winter.
Yeah, he is absolutely terrified of being trapped indoors if an attack comes.
And what's fascinating here is that Hig is not surviving on his own. He shares an abandoned airport in Erie, Colorado with one other man, a guy named Bangley.
Right, the odd couple of the apocalypse.
Exactly. Bangley is the polar opposite of Hig. He is this heavily armed, utterly ruthless survivalist. And the two of them have formed this incredibly brutal but incredibly necessary symbiosis.
Right, because Hig is the eyes. I mean, he flies aerial reconnaissance in the Cessna to guarantee their perimeter is clear.
And Bangley is the muscle. He ensures that perimeter stays lethal to absolutely anyone who crosses it.
So, to understand how these two men have managed to survive for 9 years in a completely lawless wasteland, we really have to look at how they divide the labor of existing.
Oh, absolutely. Their worldviews are entirely opposed.
Yeah, look at Bangley's daily reality. The man built a literal sniper tower out of salvaged lumber. He operates a .408 Chaytak rifle. He's got night vision goggles.
He even has his own catchphrase, right?
Yes, country boys will survive. He actually takes pride in picking off wanderers at 1,400 yards. Like for him, a human life crossing their perimeter is just a tactical problem to be solved with ballistics.
Yeah, he views killing as a mundane domestic chore. I mean, it's no different to him than sweeping the porch or doing the dishes.
But wait, I mean, isn't that just psychopathic? Like, how is he any better than the marauders they are defending against if he's just indiscriminately killing people from nearly a mile away?
Well, that is the exact question the text forces you to grapple with, because Bangley operates on pure threat elimination logic.
Right.
In a world with zero law enforcement and zero infrastructure, assuming everyone is a lethal threat is, statistically speaking, the only way to stay alive.
Yeah, I guess that makes a dark kind of sense.
Yeah.
But contrast that with Hig, who actively, desperately seeks out beauty in a dead world.
He tries so hard.
He takes a sawed-off kayak, right?
Yeah.
And he uses it as a sled to drag deer carcasses through the woods. He painstakingly plants this garden with string beans and corn. He reads William Stafford poetry to himself.
And the flights. We have to talk about the flights.
Oh yeah, he even takes the plane up, burning precious, irreplaceable aviation fuel just to watch the surviving patches of green forest waving in the wind. He says they look like women in kimonos.
It's beautiful and sad.
Reading through the sources, the analogy that just kept coming to my mind is that Hig and Bangley operate together like a single human body post-apocalypse.
Oh, I like that. How do you mean?
Well, Hig is the heart and the eyes, right? He is constantly looking outward, desperately searching for some kind of beauty or connection to justify continuing to breathe.
Okay, yeah.
But Bangley is the hyperactive immune system. His only function is to aggressively, violently attack any foreign body that comes near the perimeter before it can cause an infection.
That is a highly effective way to conceptualize it. And, that immune system analogy becomes incredibly literal when we look at their nearest neighbors.
Oh, the Mennonites.
Right. Hig regularly flies out to visit this group of Mennonites living nearby at an old turkey farm.
And these families are heavily infected with that secondary blood disease we mentioned. It's highly contagious, it's slow burning, and it is lethal.
But he still goes out there.
Yeah, he goes out there, he fixes their water pumps, he drops off plastic bottles of Sprite for them, and Bangley absolutely despises this.
Oh, he hates it.
He views Higgs' empathy as a literal security breach. He's constantly warning him about the dangers of sharing bodily fluids.
And from a survival standpoint, Bangley's frustration makes perfect tactical sense. To Bangley, survival is a strict math equation of risk versus reward.
Right, there's no upside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Mennonites offer zero tactical reward for a massive lethal biological risk. But to Higg, survival without that compassion just isn't worth the effort.
Helping them loosen something frozen inside of them. Like, it keeps the heart of that analogy beating.
Yeah, but that desperate need for compassion isn't just about the Mennonites, though.
No, not at all.
If we really want to understand why Higg takes these massive risks, we have to look at the ghosts of the before.
Yeah, you cannot understand his hesitation to kill or his need to deliver soda to infected neighbors without understanding the profound trauma and grief he is carrying around.
We have to talk about his wife.
Right, Melissa. We have to talk about the loss of Melissa.
It is arguably the defining psychological wound of his entire life.
The text gives us this agonizing, just incredibly vivid memory of Melissa dying in an ad hoc flu ward set up in an Elks Hall.
Oh, it's a brutal scene.
It's chaotic. People are dying everywhere. The smell is horrific. And Melissa's lungs are filling up. She's suffocating.
Yeah.
And in this moment of just devastating love and mercy, she begs Higg to use the pillow. She literally whispers, "Use it." And to end her suffering, he does. He euthanizes the love of his life.
It is a crushing burden. I mean, he took an active role in her death out of love.
But I'm really struggling to square that with his current behavior, though. Because if you've had to euthanize your own wife in a makeshift hospital, wouldn't you just be completely desensitized to death?
You would think so.
Like, wouldn't that make him more like Bangley? Just completely numb to pulling the trigger.
Well, you might assume that, but the psychological mechanism here works in reverse. I would argue that Higgs' trauma makes him dangerously empathetic.
Dangerously empathetic.
How so? He doesn't want to kill because he intimately knows the absolute crushing weight of taking a life. He felt the life leave his wife under his own hands. That isn't something you can just detach from.
Right, he knows the finality of it.
Exactly. And the text has this brilliant moment where Higg reflects on his own state of mind. He compares his thoughts to these Norwegian ponies he once read about.
Oh, right. The ones a scientist relocated to Siberia.
Yes, exactly. They were moved to the Siberian Arctic to try and recreate the Ice Age ecosystem, and half the ponies died.
But not from the cold, right?
No, not from the cold or predators, but seemingly from heartbreak. They missed their native forests. They were entirely out of place. Higg says his own thoughts feel exactly like those ponies. Discomfited, sad, waiting to bolt into the brush. He is a man who is built for a moral ecosystem that simply no longer exists.
Yeah, he is a man at a time. But that internal struggle, being a Siberian pony in a wasteland of wolves, it gets put to the ultimate test.
It sure does.
There's a terrifying night raid at the airport, and it forces us, as the reader, to see exactly how Bangley's tactical math and Higgs' dangerous empathy operate under fire.
It strips away all the poetry and brings it right down to survival mechanics.
Okay, so paint the picture. It's night. 5 armed men have breached the perimeter and are clustered by a dumpster, whispering, planning an assault on the house.
And Higg is lying prone on a dirt berm. He's looking through a night vision scope.
Right, he has them perfectly in the crosshairs of his AR-15. He switches off the safety, he starts to squeeze the trigger, and he freezes.
He totally chokes.
His mind flashes back to his childhood, to hunting trips with his Uncle Pete. He suddenly remembers the revulsion he felt as a 12-year-old, watching a cow elk die in the rocks.
Yeah, seeing the blood mixing with the milk from its teats.
Exactly. He is completely paralyzed by the empathy of taking a life. And right at that exact moment, the night erupts. Bangley opens fire from a flanking position.
Bangley systematically wipes out the intruders. But the crucial detail here isn't the gunfire.
Oh, this part is crazy.
If we look at the dynamic of their relationship, this is the most revealing moment in the story. Bangley wasn't just watching the intruders. Bangley was out there, hidden, with his own scope trained squarely on Higgs' trigger finger.
That is chilling. I mean, wait, he let 5 heavily armed men get within 90 feet of them, let the threat escalate to a critical level, entirely as a psychological test.
Yes, just to see if Higgs still had the nerve to pull the trigger.
That is insane.
Bangley actually tells him afterward, "Not sure you still had it in you." It is a stunning display of dominance.
Wow.
Bangley is proving, without a shadow of a doubt, that he is the one who controls life and death in this valley. Hig is alive purely because Bangley allows it.
And the aftermath of that gunfight is horrifying. They go down to inspect the bodies, and one of the dead attackers is a 9-year-old boy.
Yeah, he's wearing a cowboy hat and a hawk feather in his matted hair.
And Bangley feels absolutely nothing. He just mocks Hig's hesitation. He tells him he's living in the past. To Bangley, a 9-year-old with a weapon is just a threat neutralized.
But we really have to acknowledge the dark contradiction in Hig here, because Bangley mocks Hig for his empathy, but Bangley underestimates how much the apocalypse has actually infected Hig's brain.
Oh, right. Because right after sparing a thought for a dead elk, Hig does something genuinely grotesque with those human bodies.
He really does.
Wait, I have to be honest, I was completely lost on this part of the source material. This is where the book almost lost me.
It's definitely jarring.
Hig, the same man who reads poetry and cries over the memory of a dying elk, takes those dead attackers, butchers their bodies, brines the meat, and turns them into human jerky.
Yep. To feed his aging dog, Jasper.
Right. And he rationalizes it by referencing the famous Andy's rugby team crash, saying the meat is just protein and his dog needs to eat. I mean, how does a human brain compartmentalize empathy for a deer but feel zero empathy while butchering a human being?
Well, it is a textbook example of survival-induced cognitive dissonance and moral disengagement. Hig isn't just shifting his baseline, he is actively dehumanizing the attackers to protect his own psyche.
Okay, so it's a coping mechanism.
Exactly. In Hig's mind, those men crossed the perimeter with murderous intent, so they forfeited their humanity. They became predators, and now they are meat.
Wow. That is bleak.
And furthermore, Hig has narrowed his in-group, the circle of beings deserving of his empathy down to a very small list. And at the very center of that list is his dog, Jasper.
So his brain protects him by telling him, what, I'm not a cannibal, I'm just feeding my pack.
Exactly. He tells himself, I am simply an apex predator feeding a member of my pack.
It really shows you just how fractured his moral compass has become. He is desperately trying to hold on to the old world's rules, but the apocalypse is rewiring his categories of what constitutes human behavior.
But you can only compartmentalize like that for so long before the reality of the wasteland forces your hand.
Right. And that delicate balancing act finally breaks down during a simple supply run.
A run for a luxury item, no less.
Yeah, Hig has this routine. Every month or so, he flies the Cessna out to a hijacked semi-truck on a county road near Greeley. The trailer is packed with Coca-Cola and Sprite.
It's a tiny piece of the before, a way to break up the bleakness.
But on this specific run, he lands, steps out of the plane, and is ambushed by 3 men hiding in the truck.
And this time, he doesn't have Bangley providing overwatch. He is completely exposed.
Right. One of the men swings a bow and arrow at him, and Hig shoots him instantly. Survival reflex kicks in.
Yeah, pure reflex.
But then, Hig immediately tries to revert to his old-world morality. He tries to play the role of the merciful victor.
Which is so dangerous.
He holds the remaining 2 men at gunpoint and promises not to kill them. He orders them to load his plane with coke, telling them they can keep the rest of the truck once he flies away. I mean, he desperately doesn't want to kill for a luxury item.
He's trying to enforce the old rules of civilization, a gentleman's agreement, in a world that has completely discarded them.
But the world won't let him. As one of the survivors is loading the cases into the plane, he starts taunting Hig. He tells him, "You're a dead man anyway. The Arabs are coming to kill us all."
It's a cryptic warning about a new organized threat moving into their territory.
And Hig gets angry. He shoves his rifle barrel into the man's ribs to demand what he means. And when the man stands up, Hig notices a long, shriveled necklace swinging from the man's neck.
Yeah.
And the man, with this mocking look, tells him exactly what it's made of. It is a necklace made of dried human female anatomy.
It is the ultimate, undeniable symbol of the absolute depravity of this new reality.
And Hig snaps. The poet. The man who couldn't pull the trigger on the men attacking his own home pulls the trigger instantly.
Just completely loses it.
He shoots the man in cold blood, guts him right there on the pavement. The third guy runs away into the fields. Hig is he's done.
And this brings us to a critical juncture in understanding the survival mechanics of this world. Because when Hig gets back to the airport and confesses this whole encounter, Bangley's reaction is incredibly telling.
See, I don't understand Bangley's reaction here at all.
Yeah.
Hig just killed an absolute monster, a man wearing trophies of his victims. Why is Bangley furious instead of relieved that Hig finally showed some killer instinct?
Because Bangley views empathy and righteous rage as equal tactical liabilities.
Oh, interesting.
Bangley doesn't care about the morality of the necklace. He is entirely focused on the information. Bangley scolds Hig for risking his life for soda pop in the first place.
True.
He scolds him for letting the attackers get close enough to speak. But most importantly, Bangley is enraged that Hig shot the man before extracting the vital intelligence about this new threat of Arabs.
Oh, right. Bangley actually says, first intel about a possible real visitor. And you terminate the conversation.
Exactly. To Bangley, Hig's sudden burst of righteous vengeance was a catastrophic tactical disaster.
Bro.
Bangley essentially tells him, because you discover that the man is a rapist and a killer like every other survivor walking around this country, you lose your head. Bangley is pointing out that Hig's morality just cost them their best chance to prepare for a coming invasion.
So Bangley is looking at the map, while Hig is looking at the soul. It forces Hig to realize that maybe Bangley is right. Maybe being a Boy Scout, holding on to these old-world concepts of justice and vengeance, is exactly the thing that will get them killed.
It is a constant, exhausting negotiation. I mean, how much of your humanity do you trade away for another day of breathing?
Yeah.
If you trade away too much, you become Bangley. You become a machine scanning for threats. If you hold on to too much, you hesitate on the trigger and get yourself killed.
The Dog Stars brilliantly captures this impossible tightrope walk. It makes the point that surviving isn't just about guarding a physical perimeter with guns and night vision goggles. It's about guarding your mind against the total, consuming loss of your humanity. Even when holding on to that humanity is a massive tactical risk.
And there is one final, really haunting detail from the text that perfectly encapsulates that fear.
That's right.
It's not about a gunfight, it's about a radio. Years ago, Hig was flying in the Cessna, and he picked up a faint, distant radio transmission.
I remember this.
Just a voice cutting through the static, calling out from Grand Junction, Colorado. Another pilot, another survivor.
And he had the fuel capacity, he had the plane, he could have flown out there, but he never went to investigate.
He never went. And the psychological mechanism behind that choice is devastating. As Hig realizes, hope is terrifying.
Because it could just be a trap.
Exactly. Finding out that you are truly alone, flying all that way just to find another graveyard, or worse, walking into an ambush, is much more dangerous to his psyche than staying put. Embracing a known despair is safer than risking your life for a connection that might be a ghost.
The paralyzing fear of hope. That perfectly brings us back to the core tension of the book. Hig thinks a lot about Amelia Earhart.
Right, her final days.
Yeah, he thinks about her surviving a plane crash on a desert island with her navigator. The two of them slowly starved to death on a coral atoll, but they had each other. They were together in the end.
It begs the question of whether companionship in death is better than isolation in life.
It really asks us to define what survival actually means. So, I want to leave you, the listener, with this thought. Imagine that sweeping Colorado plain again.
It's a beautiful image.
It is. If the world ended tomorrow, and you had all the food, water, and safety you could ever need, but your only companion was a ruthless killer who watched your every single move through a rifle scope,
Yeah.
would you actually be surviving? Or would you just be taking a really, really long time to die?